All right, folks, welcome into another edition of Pugs Moran Live, the noontime broadcast, high noon with Pugs Moran Live on the Radio Misfits Network. That's what we like to call it. We get here every day at noon. We kind of go over all the things that people are talking about, the trending topics, things that are being bantied about on the various social media platforms, and all the things, just in an attempt to try and get you as well-rounded for the rest of the afternoon as possible. Don't want anybody coming up to you and going, "Hey, did you hear about?" And you can go, "I sure did," because I listen to Pugs Moran Live every day at noon right here on the Radio Misfits Network. We also do it again at night. We'll give you the full day recap. That's not exactly true. I mean, we will, if like big stuff happened during the day in the 8 hours between, typically 8 hours. I'll get to that in a minute. The 8 hours between the end of this show and then the start of the 10 o'clock show, the Pillow Talk edition, if you will. Big things that go on. We'll certainly cover them, but the 10 o'clock show is a little bit more fun. It's a little bit more, a little bit less about let's get mad about all the things that are making people mad. Because really, that's pretty much what happens with any sort of news story that trends. It's just a way to trigger people, just a way to get all the snowflakes all fluttering about. But I do have to. Look. This is not set in stone. This is not something that is definite as of right now. But if you've been with us, you know I've been struggling mightily with the allergies. I got to have all my stuff here because we're in the stage now. Anybody who suffers from seasonal allergies knows that there are stages to this. There's the, oh my God, here it comes, where you're a little bit weak, and you feel your system is trying to fight off all the added boogers and phlegm that's being produced. And it starts out, for me anyway, it starts out like concrete. Everything is concrete. So your head is aching, but you can literally feel liquid swishing around in your head and in your sinuses and all that. And then it moves to your throat, and then you start to cough. Okay, so that's like stage one. Then you go through that for a couple of days, and it'll get better. And the way you know it gets better is that everything starts to come. Here it comes. It's all. So I'm in that stage. I'm in the getting better stage. Now, the downside of the getting better stage is that although it's encouraging to know, okay, I'm through the looking glass, people. Here we go. I'm going to get back to normal. My voice is going to sound normal. That's good. But the bad is I don't sleep. I don't sleep in the end stages. I just feel miserable because I'm constantly, feeling it drip in the back of my throat, and then you're coughing and you're waking up. Last night was the absolute worst. And not only that, but these medicines, these over-the-counter CVS medication that I took, remember now, I started this off taking the Dollar Tree cold and flu. Not cold and flu. What is it? Where is it? I can't read it. But, it's the allergy stuff that I typically take. Not good. Like I said, that was just like ground up banana peels and sawdust. I don't know what the hell was in that, but it didn't do anything for me. So this new stuff that I got from CVS, it certainly worked better. It made me feel good. But man, did I have weird dreams. Now, if you remember, I have a rule. No talking politics, no talking religion, and no talking about your dreams. So I won't tell you about my dreams, but man, were they trippy last night. They were so weird. Between the fits of getting up and going to the bathroom and trying to make myself vomit to get rid of all of the... Was that too graphic? I didn't mean to go there with you. But, trying to get rid of all the phlegm. And at 4:30 in the morning, I had my shower on blazing hot just so I could like steam everything for about 20 minutes. And I just sat there on the toilet as the bathroom filled up with steam. And then you take a towel and you put it over the faucet in the tub, and you try and get all of that. It's miserable, folks. I'm telling you, but I'm coming through it. And the problem that I've had the last there it goes. There we go. Oh man, hold on. Let me get some coffee, because coffee, something hot, always seems to. So these are allergies. This is not the Rona. This is all wet. The Rona is dry. I have no fever. Although I do feel feverish at times, just because I think that's my body's way of, saying, we're working here. We're working. I can't even go anywhere with this. Oh my God. So here's my pledge to you. We're going to go over everything. We're going to go over everything that's important. I'm not going to promise that we're going to do a full 2 hours today. In fact, as we start here now, I'm thinking that, the way my voice is, the way my voice is going, I'm probably going to try and only push it for 1 hour because, baby, I want to do the full 2 hours tonight at 10 o'clock. So that's what we're going to get into. Holy crap, does this sound bad? Oh, my goodness. All right, so the plan is just to run through everything that we need to run through, get you all caught up, and then I'll probably bail as soon as I feel like I've sufficiently debriefed all of you on what's happening today, and then we'll come back at 10 o'clock. And I promise you, 10 o'clock tonight, the Pillow Talk edition is going to be fire. Oh, it's going to be great. I'm not going to say a damn word. I'm going to save all of this after I completely trash it out here in the next hour or so. And then we'll be back. We'll have some fun tonight. All right. So who's in the chat room do we have? We have my boy Dustin. I'm going to go all the way up. Let's see. I don't want to forget anybody. We got Dustin. We got Derek. We got Steven. We got Kevin. It's always good to see everybody. Kevin says, Zysol and Equate nasal spray seem to work for me if I take them preemptively. Too late for that, pal. Too late for preemptive. This war has already started. This thing going on in my head and in my back of my throat, this stuff has already started. Hi, Adam. What's up with you, buddy? Adam and I had a nice little conversation about how you treat a backup quarterback in the modern NFL. We disagree, but hey, you know what? Adam and I have been disagreeing for 20 years on just about everything, and you know what I like about it now? I don't really get upset anymore. It's just kind of like, yeah, well, people have opinions, and as long as we can be respectful. Isn't that nice? Isn't our new relationship, Adam, a little bit better than the way I used to just hang up on you and then slam you and then compliment your wife? That was wise, because his wife is wonderful. He was not so much back in the day, but his wife is wonderful. And now we're all getting along well. Everything's nice. So thank you for being here, everybody. And I really hope that my voice doesn't freak you out and like nails on a saw. Oh my God. Excuse me. Yeah. Yeah, I'm being told that my voice is currently a mashup of Harvey Fierstein. I just want to be loved. Is that so wrong? Harvey Fierstein doing a Michael J. Fox impression. What would Michael J. Fox say? I don't know. I would have that. Ross is in. Thank you, Ross. He says I need more Jameson and Dr. Pepper. That's a nighttime thing. The daytime thing, yeah, I'm not a day drinker. Unless it's a Sunday during football, then I'll be a day drinker. But I don't like, is there anything worse than having a buzz at 3:00 in the afternoon, and then by like 4:30, you're just like, oh, headache's coming. I got to lay down. And it's only 4:30. I don't like that. I'm not a big fan of the day drinking. However, back in my college days, you used to be able to start at like 10 in the morning and go all the way to like 3 the next morning, right? But no, man, I ain't built for that anymore. This is bad. You know what? You people should just be happy that I semi-dressed for this, because I've been walking around here in my my house coat, which is my Michael Jordan warm-up sweat jacket and underwear. That's my house coat. That's what I wear, because it's really big. The sweat jacket is really big, and it goes down to like my thighs, so it's almost like a bathrobe. My son calls it my house coat. I think I've covered that. If I'm repeating myself, it's because I'm really insecure today about what it is that I'm trying to do here. But we'll make it through. Hi, Jennifer. Hi, Byron. Hi, Kenny. Everybody's coming in. Oh, my God. I feel like I'm going to let you guys down today. That's okay. If you're really back here at 10 o'clock, I promise you that we're going to do a good show. All right, so let's see what's happening here. Let's get into the trending topics. What do you think the big topic is right now? I'll tell you what the big topic is right now. The big topic is the remnants of Hurricane Ida and what it's doing to the East Coast. Now, last night when we got off the air here at noon night. Yeah, that's a new name for midnight. I'm going to call it noon night. That's okay. Hey, you guys help me with this. Let's spread that. Midnight is now noon night, according to us here on the Pugs and Kelly live extravaganza. So at midnight, I get off the air, and I was hungry because my schedule is so. This doing these two shows, I love it. Don't worry, we're not going to back off it. This is I pitched the idea that I wanted to be a live stream podcast monk. I wanted to live a Spartan existence, and I wanted to have a studio right next to my bed so that I could get up and do stuff whenever. So I am not complaining, but I'm battling something right now, so don't take it as that. So I get off the air, and my schedule is so screwed up that I immediately make tacos. That's right, tacos at midnight. Why not? I'm a heavy set guy with very little discipline. Why not? So tacos at midnight was accompanied by what I believed at the time was a replay of the Don Lemon show, on CNN. And look, you listen to CNN. I can't do the yelling that I like to do. You listen to CNN. Well, I listen and I watch CNN. I observe CNN simply because I don't wish to observe the propaganda of the far right or wish to observe the propaganda of the far left. So MSNBC and Fox, I just find a little bit grating. CNN, I find grating as well. Don Lemon in particular. I'm not a Don Lemon fan. I just, ugh. I don't mind Anderson Cooper so much. Chris Cuomo can be a little bit much. I like Aaron Burnett. Jake Tapper has been really upsetting me lately. I used to like Tapper at 3, but So at any rate, it's the lesser of two evils. So I put on while I'm making tacos up here in the guest house of the palatial 1% mansion. And Don Lemon's on. And, they replay that stuff. And I'm watching it. And I'm like, boy, in the 9 o'clock hour tonight, it sure was raining in New York. And then I realized, no, they've gone live. Dandy Don Lemon must have, extended his show past 9 to 10, or maybe he goes off at 11. I don't know. Like I said, I can't take 2 hours of Don Lemon. And he was live. And, when they keep him live, it's got to be a big story. And because it's New York, every single CNN reporter was at the ready because they all live there. So everybody's stepping out in front of their apartments and they're giving these updates on the water rushing down the streets. And now you have to temper everything that you hear on national broadcast cable news now, because remember, it's all about getting you all keyed up and making sure that you're angry and making sure that you're ready to fight for whatever it is agenda that they're putting out there. So I was taking it with a grain of salt, right? But then I wake up this morning and I put it on and they're still doing like the crazy live coverage. And I'm a big believer in the East Coast bias. I do not like the fact that if something minor happens within 20 miles of New York City, it gets turned into the only thing America is allowed to talk about. Meanwhile, a couple of weeks ago, when people in Tennessee were having their entire lives washed away and a whole bunch of deaths from flash floods, they barely mentioned it. Why? Because a New York City Central Park concert got rained out on the same night and people in the Hamptons had to cancel their white parties. I just despise the East Coast bias. I despise it in the realm of sports as well. And I think that's where the whole East Coast bias thing came from. The New York Yankees have more players in the Baseball Hall of Fame than anyone else. Not because they had more players that they're deserving of the Hall of Fame, but because the sports writers are all based in New York and they watch those teams and they're fans of those teams. East Coast bias. It's a very real thing. But in this case, it appears that we got some major stuff going on here. There are states of emergency declared all up and down the East Coast, all over New York City. They shut down the MTA, which is their rapid transit system. There were people last night at 1 o'clock in the morning, after 1 o'clock in the morning, New York time. That's Eastern Seaboard time. Do we still say Seaboard time? I don't know. I like saying it. It sounds right. They were stuck in the subway. They were all these people, and not just the disposable people. They were talking to a lot of people who were at the U.S. Open in Astoria, Queens, who were trying to get back to their fancy homes, and they were all stranded too. So it was like this crazy hodgepodge going on in the subways last night. There it goes. My thing died again. And here, let me show you what was going on here in Queens last night. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to show you here, this is Queens Boulevard in Maspeth, Corona. I don't know where that is. Queens Boulevard, I'm only familiar with because I watched Entourage, and if you remember, that was a movie a passion project that Vinny Chase was trying to get made. Queens Boulevard, about my life growing up. So here, let's show this. This is some pretty crazy stuff. Oh my God, I do apologize. Okay, look at this. Holy cow. This was taken. Queens Boulevard in Maspeth, Corona is a literal river at the moment. Bus fully flooded, driving through multiple cars stuck in the water. It's absolutely insane. Let's see what this sounds like, shall we? Let's watch this a little bit. I mean, that's like... So this is the perspective from a city bus, a New York City bus. Okay. All right, so we got that one. All right, let's see what else. There's another video here from New York City. Let's see. This is a hero bus driver managed to get us safely through the 3 to 4 feet of rain coursing down the boulevard, but only seemed to be getting worse. Finally made it through to higher ground and fellow passengers smiled. Holy cow! That is inside the bus. They are standing on water inside the bus. Oh, just imagine the rats. Yeah. Where's the driver? He's... They made it. All right. Good for that. Oh, Jesus. Look at that by the bus driver's feet. That's incredible. That is some incredible video, boy. I'll tell you. I've been through. You ever driven through a flood? We talked about this with James Parker yesterday from NOLA. He is the square-headed Hurricane Ida survivor that's been checking in with us. He's bored, so he's checking in with us every night at 10 o'clock to tell us about what's happening down there in Louisiana. He suggested he had a very good idea. Now, I have driven through flooded out streets before. So I think back to when I was delivering pizzas. Whenever the weather got really bad, everybody wants me to drive their food or pizza drivers. And now the downside was that there was a 50-50 chance you weren't going to get to your destination. But the upside was if you did, chances are tips were going to be great. So, you really gave it your all. And he had a good tip, one that I don't think that I had ever utilized in my days traversing bad flooded streets. And that is you can't let off the gas. You just got to keep it, because the minute you let off the gas, all the water gets sucked into the tailpipe, and that's what stalls out your engine. And that's what ends up having you climbing on top of your roof, waiting for somebody to rescue you. So if you but don't, just be smart. If you have a pickup truck, if you have something that's elevated more, that's fine. I mean, I'm driving around in a Malibu. That thing ain't gonna make it through more than 1.5 feet of water before it dies out. All right. So, like I said, the president has spoken on this. Maybe that has something to do with East Coast bias. I don't remember him coming in the middle of the day talking about Tennessee, but whatever. Flyover states, East Coast bias. That's what I'm telling you about. This is about looking to be a big deal, though. So this is developing. That's trending number one, the flooding on the East Coast. Another thing that's trending today that I wanted to get into, don't really want to get into the politics of it, but there is some interesting things happening here. As we talked about yesterday, there were a couple of new laws here in the state of Texas, the great state of Texas, that went into effect. One of the laws was the one that we talked about, which was the changes to the medical marijuana program here in Texas, which I see as a good thing. A lot of people were like, it's not enough. Well, come on, baby steps. If you look at the way this happened in other states, it all went medical marijuana with incredibly restrictive rules for the program. Then the rules started to get tossed away and more easily accessible qualifications, I suppose, to be eligible for the program were brought in. And then before you knew it, they just said, you know what, this is stupid. We could make so much money if we just made it legal for everybody. And let's be honest, marijuana, we've been lying to people about it for 100 years. This is no worse for you, certainly no worse for you than drinking alcohol, which is totally legal. And in many cases, as we're finding out now that research into the plant, the devil's lettuce, has been ongoing now for a few years, we're finding out that in many aspects, it can be a very helpful medication for people, not only in there. We'll get into this a little bit more with another story that's trending today. But the other rule that everybody's talking about that I want to get into, because I do not have a public opinion on the whole abortion thing. Let's not get into that. But there is pushback happening regarding here. We'll show you. So one of the problems here with this new Texas law concerning, when a woman is eligible for, or ceases to be eligible, I should say, for, an abortion in the state of Texas. And this is not just here in Texas. Texas is just a majorly important state and one of the first to go this far. But there are similar laws in Kentucky, Alabama, all over. The Kentucky law, though, as opposed to the Texas law, which is 6 weeks, which a lot of people say you don't even know you're pregnant in 6 weeks, and how can you do this? The Kentucky law is 15 weeks. That seems a little bit more of a compromise. That seems a little bit more of, because that's the thing about this issue. We got to compromise in some way. I mean, look, whether if you believe in woman's right to choose or you believe that, a baby is a soul and a life, you're not going to pudge anybody from either of those positions. So this is how we do democracy. You have to compromise. 6 weeks in Texas is, to my way of thinking, especially if in fact women don't even know they're pregnant by 6 weeks, that could be a problem. So what we've done here is not only those restrictive parameters being put in place, but the stuff that is really disgusting is this hotline that they have set up in Texas. It's more of a website, I guess, or maybe it's also a hotline. I don't know. But it encourages people to turn in those who assist women seeking an abortion past 6 weeks. Now, I don't know how just a civilian whistleblower on the street could determine the exact amount of time that a person has been pregnant. I don't know how they do that, but they're encouraging you to turn people in. And what that means is, you find out the boyfriend maybe paid for it. Okay, he's an accessory to it. You turn him in. He's now in violation of the law. An Uber driver who takes him to a clinic. Okay, that person is now in violation of the law and facing a $10,000 fine. Somebody posted on Twitter just a little comment about this that really kind of hit me. And I was like, yeah, we readily acknowledge that our neighbors and our neighborhoods are just filled with Karens and busybodies and people who think that, they want to, imposing their view of the world and their way on life is the only way. And that if you are in any way in opposition to those views, you are somehow the devil. Knowing that people are just being busybodies, they're empowering your neighbors to literally start narking on you based on the flimsiest of suspicions. And someone on Twitter yesterday said, yeah, this law is great. It's going to allow your neighbor to report you to the authorities and possibly have you face a $10,000 fine simply because they're suspicious of your miscarriage, which, I thought really summed it up. It's like, man, you cannot empower people who have absolutely no knowledge of the situation to somehow become involved in the legal process. And that seems like an incredibly thoughtless and punitive way. It seems mean, just to boil it all down. They're just being vindictive. And that's the thing that people are really upset about. Well, look, people are upset about the whole thing in general, but the aspects to it, just unbelievably gross to my way of thinking. So what's happening now, as I said, there is a hotline set in place. So people are all right. So let's see what this is. This is one of the things that people are doing in order to combat this crazy hotline. So here, let me share this with you, and we'll watch it together because it's look, if you're on the other side of this, you might find this terrible. But even good people who are pro-life, who believe that the abortion Roe versus Wade needs to be overturned and that we need to have wholesale changes in this area here in the country, even most of them, see this hotline issue as a real problem. So let's check this out, shall we? Let's see. This is Jamie.
All right, y'all, we're going to mess with Greg Abbott and all the other idiots that decided to outlaw abortion in Texas after 6 weeks. Thank you so much to my friend Olivia for coming up with this absolutely brilliant idea. So if you go to prolifewhistleblower.com, which I'm going to put in the caption down below, you can see that Texas has anonymously set up a system where you can report people who have gotten abortions. Wouldn't it be so awful if we sent in a bunch of fake tips and crashed the site? Like, Greg Abbott's butt stinks. Spelt wrong, of course, because he deserves zero respect. How did you obtain this evidence? Smelt it from here.
Okay. Oh, man. Hey, man, don't I sound like Dastardly Dog? Okay, that's the allergies. I apologize. So essentially, you get the idea of what this girl is doing here. The idea is to take this, I don't know, Gestapo-like turn in your neighbor's program that has been attached to this Texas bill and basically destroy the site, destroy Yeah, I felt that was a little loud. You people in the chat room maybe did too. So let me try and fix that here for you. So what she is doing is she is turning in Governor Greg Abbott for farting, and she is going over. Okay, just watch. She's funny. I mean, it is funny. Here, let's start this again.
Tips and crash the site like Greg Abbott's butt stinks. Spelt wrong, of course, because he deserves zero respect. How did you obtain this evidence? Smelt it from here, in California. The doctor responsible, Dr. Stinkbutt. For the geographical information, just pick a random place in Texas, random city and zip code. And are you currently elected to public office? Yeah, sure. Let's go with that. Yay! All right, y'all. We're going to mess with Greg Abbott and all the other idiots.
Okay, there she is. So that's going to happen. That's a real thing. I mean, that is something that she's got 10,000 chairs on that. I mean, people all over the country are going to be waking up every day in an attempt to crash this incredibly non-American idea of a whistleblower site. And I think it's funny. Like, I'm not taking a side. Like I said, my beliefs on this are my beliefs. Nobody wants to hear them. We go out, we have a couple of drinks, and we become friends. Then maybe, we can get into some deeper discussions. But I'm not interested in talking about any of that. So the Texas law is definitely taking some pushback all around the country. And as I said, there are other states here that are also have bills in their House legislatures that are designed to be a bit of a workaround of the Roe v. Wade, which is a woman's right to a safe and expedient. I don't know. I don't even know what the verbiage is in that. I've never personally, I'm a pretty honest guy. This would be the time when I would probably share some story. Personally, I've never been involved in a situation where I needed to consider an abortion. I would be lying if I told you that I didn't know people who were. I mean, and that's the thing that really bothers me. I know a woman who is, at least in her social media posts, is just a demon about this pro-life issue and all of that. And this was someone in high school who had an abortion. I mean, we all know it. And now she's like completely reinvented herself. And that's a special kind of individual there. I mean, somebody who took advantage of a process when it was affecting her life and her future and what she was going to be able to build with her life. And then here we are 40 years, maybe more like 35 years later, and she's completely on the other side. So, I mean, intellectual and moral consistency is probably an important aspect in here. And that's why I don't wish to discuss it, because I believe most people are morally consistent when it comes to this. So we don't need to get into any more of that. Okay, trending, we had the East Coast flooding. We've got this Texas tell on your neighbor law, but also here, this is another one I mentioned there. Kentucky and Viagra is trending. Now, I wanted to go over this. This is some stuff here. In Kentucky, there is a lawmaker, a woman. Her name is, let's see if I can find her name. Hold on, I'm sorry. This is another funny workaround pushback that has absolutely no chance of passing in the male-dominated Kentucky state legislature. But this is sort of a think piece, I guess. This has been offered by Kentucky lawmaker Mary Lou Marzarian. Here it is. A Kentucky state representative believes that a new law requiring women to have a medical consultation 24 hours before having an abortion smacked of sexism. So the lawmaker, Mary Lou Marzarian, proposed a bill in the male-dominated House to drive the point home. Oh my God, I'm having a little bit of difficulty here. Under the legislation by Mrs. Marzarian, men would have to navigate a series of obstacles before they could obtain erectile dysfunction drugs like Viagra. Now, I'm not a fan of Viagra. I am a fan of Cialis. I think that Cialis is the superior product. This is not an endorsement. This is just a life experience commentary. Under the legislation, Mrs. Marzarian, men would have to navigate a series of obstacles before they could obtain erectile dysfunction drugs like Viagra. each man in the state of Kentucky seeking to obtain such drugs would be required to have 2 doctor visits, a signed and dated letter from his spouse providing consent, and a sworn statement. This must be delivered with his hand on a Bible that he would use the drugs only to have sex with his spouse. Oh, and only married men would be allowed to obtain erectile dysfunction drugs in the state of Kentucky. Now, as I say, that sounds ridiculous, right? Okay, well, to a lot of people, these new laws that are falling on state legislatures are just as ridiculous. In a phone interview this week, Mrs. Marzarian said, I thought if we're going to insert ourselves into women's most private healthcare decisions, then we should insert ourselves into men's most private healthcare decisions as well. The proposal, to be sure, is tongue-in-cheek. She said she did not expect that it would pass and was not sure if the plan, put forward on Thursday, would even get a hearing. I probably won't. Her point, she said, was to wake up women all over Kentucky. The abortion law, signed by Governor Matt Bevin earlier this month, passed the Senate 92-3. It was amended to allow women to conduct a live video chat with a doctor instead of an in-person visit. The ACLU of Kentucky called the policy an alarming overstep by lawmakers that would force both doctors and patients to comply with the will of lawmakers rather than medical expertise or personal choices for care. But it was hailed by those who oppose abortion. Many have fought for a long time to see meaningful pro-life legislation come out of this legislation. See, I don't want to go into all that. I just thought it was funny that, I'm wondering if similar bills might not begin popping up in other states. I mean, look, it makes sense. I mean, unless we still live in a place where, this is a man's world and that women are second-class citizens. And I don't particularly believe in that. So, there we go. Just more stuff that we're all going to fight about. But at least these ones seem to be an incredibly serious topic that seemed to be at least entertainingly humorous in the moment. Okay. Sorry, I need a little bit more hot from my voice. Okay, so what else do we have here going on? What else is trending? Zoloft was trending. Zoloft, the depression medication that I have some experience with. Zoloft is terrible. I absolutely hated it. And that's kind of why it's trending. The world the way it is. I guess people are promoting and touting ways to deal with all of these heavy sick things. I mean, look, we've got a pandemic, right? I mean, that's top of mind. We're all tired of that. That's making everybody want to kill everybody they see in a parking lot without a mask or with a mask or whatever it may be, whatever your point of view is. We got that. We got this absolutely atrocious situation happening in Afghanistan, where still mourning flags are still at half staff, I think. I don't know. At least I saw them. They were yesterday, for 13 service members lost in that horrible situation at the airport there in Kabul. We've got, Bonnaroo has been canceled. That's upsetting a lot of people. We've got these floodings, we've got hurricanes, and we've got these oppressive, in some people's estimation, laws that are being passed against women's rights. It's a crazy time. It's a terrible, terrible time. So, obviously a lot of people are falling into depression, which I make a distinction. As somebody who understands remember, the greatest quote I ever read about depression was that people don't fake having depression. They fake being okay. And that really is something that anybody who suffers from this ridiculous brain chemistry issue, and that's what it is. It's a brain chemistry issue. That's something we can really relate to, because I can't tell you right now I'm good. I mean, I'm okay. I'm not in a depressive state, but there have been times when I have been, and you just fake it. You fake it by being extra up and extra because you're pushing. And that's when a lot of times they'll say, man, doing this stuff is exhausting. Well, it is. It's exhausting when you try and combat whatever brain chemistry is going on with a exorbitant use of endorphins or whatever the hell that stuff is that's going on. As a teenager, when I didn't really understand why I was feeling this way, it was always good to drink excessively. And I drank as a teenager. I would get absolutely smashed because in that state, at least there was some diversion, distraction, whatever it was from the dark places that your mind goes. And I'm not saying dark places like, I'm going to kill everybody. No, it's dark places. It's you walking around. I mean, there were times when I'd be out walking my dog in years past, and the entire time I just muttered to myself, I'm not going to kill myself. I'm not going to kill myself. I'm not going to kill myself. I mean, that's what depression is. And that's what people, and I'm not going to. I mean, that's just for anybody that's concerned, anybody that might be, I've been dealing with this quite effectively. And quite honestly, I don't have this overwhelming, horrid sort of type of depression. I experience ups and downs and mood swings, and I'm not full blown bipolar manic depression, what they used to call. I'm more of a, you know what, nobody cares. Nobody cares. But Zoloft is trending, and it's trending because people are giving their experiences on Zoloft. A lot of people, I'm reading this, a lot of people, and these must be truly severe cases, but a lot of people are talking about how wonderful it is. Not for me, man. It made me dead. That's a thing that just makes you completely emotionless. And I was taking it years ago when I was on the radio, and I didn't talk about it a lot. I mean, my partner Kelly knew about it because I was open about it, because I felt that someone that I spent 4 hours a day sitting next to should probably have some small bit of understanding about why I might be acting a little bit different, or why one day I'm like, blah, 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 and the next day everything is blah and everything. I mean, so she knew. I never even told my mother, because it was after I was out of the house and doing things that I got a truly legitimate diagnosis and started seeing a therapist. I used to talk about my therapist on the air. She was wonderful up there in Plano. Don't want to give her name though, because I don't think you're supposed to. I don't think you, anyway. But Zoloft for me, which everybody is talking up right now, boy, oh boy, did it make me dead. And when you tried to do a radio show, when you're trying to do a wacky bit and trying to drum up the witticisms that accompany the bit we've just done on a moment's notice, there's nothing there. There was just, she would say, "So Pugs, what do you think about that?" Yeah, that was pretty great. Back to you, Kelly. I mean, that's kind of like what it did to me. It was terrible. And a lot of young people who are undiagnosed, they're the ones that turn to drugs. They turn, sir, oh, my kid's an addict. No, there very well might be something else going on. I mean, why does he feel the need to be stoned all the time? And that was the medication that I finally settled on, which is why we were talking about the changing to medical marijuana laws. I think that marijuana should absolutely be available to people suffering from clinical depression, from people who have, issues like that, because these chemicals, and Zoloft again is what we're talking about, which was trending. These chemicals, man, they interact with people's brain chemistry different, and it took me years of trying all kinds of different things. Weed is illegal. And if it's the only thing that'll let me sleep, and it's the only thing that'll make me calm without completely sapping my spirit and my will, I was going to go with that instead of these pills that you had to buy at, a pharmacy or whatever, which gave you none of the joy, none of the optimism that you received with just a little bit of marijuana when you're in a really bad place. And, I've talked to a lot of people about this. I actually did like a couple sessions of a group therapy thing up there in Plano, where you sat and talked to other people. I didn't like it because those things are supposed to be anonymous. And this is the reason I stopped going to my coping group in Dallas. People knew who I was. Like, my voice is very recognizable. And I just felt, even though I was comfortable coming on the radio with a partner and sharing the most personal aspects of my everyday life, for some reason, that one was not one that I felt anybody was interested in. And I didn't really want to share it. But times have changed. I mean, we've come into an era now where there is less judgment, less criticism of people who suffer from these things. We're finding out all the time that people have been suffering in silence. I mean, look, I know that Robin Williams was a shock to a lot of people, but and he was suffering from another diagnosed disease. What was it? Wasn't lupus? Wasn't early stages of lupus? It was Lewy body. I think it was Lewy body he had been diagnosed with. But he also, I mean, everybody, yeah, he also suffered from depression. But the most upbeat, crazy, wild, manic individual on the planet. I mean, most people wouldn't think that guy suffers from some kind of brain chemistry issue, but I understand it now. I mean, when you see some of Robin Williams' Tonight Show appearances from back in the 80s or Letterman or whatever, where they would just throw him the ball and he would go, 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 go. I mean, it's pretty obvious that there was now, in retrospect, something going on there. His idol, Jonathan Winters, was also like that. And Jonathan Winters had a whole myriad of issues, but he certainly also suffered from depression. So when all of these icons, these incredibly talented and beloved people started offing themselves, Chris Cornell comes to mind. Chris Cornell of Soundgarden. Chris Cornell was a handsome, rich rock star in an iconic band from the grunge era who was he wasn't Marcy Playground, he wasn't a one-hit wonder. He was a legit rock star. Soundgarden was an important band in the history of modern American rock and roll. And beautiful wife, he had kids, he killed himself. People are like, whoa, what the hell happened with Chris Cornell? Well, he was obviously suffering in silence from something that he wasn't comfortable talking about. Although I bet you, if you look at some of the songs, Soundgarden was a bit of a depressive band. They were very heavy and dark. And so my point is that I'm more comfortable now talking about these things because there seems to be in this era more of an awareness of how common it is. And it doesn't mean, oh, he's a little bit screwy. I'm not a little bit screwy. Anybody who hangs out with me, I might be a little bit fun. I might be a little bit silly, but I don't think anybody has described me as a little bit silly. I'm deliberate in my actions and I'm thoughtful in my opinions. I've had a lot of changes over the last few years, and some of you have actually pointed out, oh, I like this new Pugs. Well, I do too, and I think that's the most important thing. So Zoloft is trending today. People are talking about how great it is, and I don't really. Oh, look what I did! I did it again because I got off on talking about it. That's all right. We don't have that one. Oh, what are we doing here? I do apologize. Let's see what else is trending, shall we? We're just gonna, as the kids say, we're gonna free ball it now. I don't even know if the kids say that. Seems like something stupid kids would say. Here's a funny story. This is one to get us up. And again, thank you so much for bearing with me here. This is I'm definitely struggling, if you can't tell. I feel good otherwise. I mean, I don't feel sick. I don't have a temperature or anything. It's just these damn allergies. They're all coming up. Excuse me for a second. Yeah, I just made a decision on this one. Here, you don't need to see this. And there we are. It's like it never happened. Although I still need my drink. So as I pointed out, this is probably not going to go the full 2 hours because my voice is getting worse and worse as we go. And I don't particularly like speaking in a whisper, but I do promise you that at 10 o'clock tonight, you'll get a full metal show and that I will be, I'm not going to say I'll be better, but I will probably, after resting and taking care of myself all day, I'll certainly have more of a voice. Okay, here's something that's great. Do you know these gender reveal parties? Gender reveal is trending right now on Twitter. Gender reveals, I don't know when they started, but probably about 15 years ago now. And certainly in the era of social media where we're sharing videos and all of that, it's picked up steam and now everybody does it. We're pregnant and we just found out what it's going to be. And we love being the center of attention. So we're going to make a huge deal about this. And, we're going to send up, I don't know, what is it? We got a giant black balloon and it's filled with either pink or blue. I don't even know what these things are. This is stupid. This story comes to us from, where is this? Oh, Tennessee. Oh, the good folks in Tennessee. I say that derisively, and I really don't mean it, because Tennessee is one of my boy and me states. We travel through Tennessee on our way between Chicago and Dallas quite often, and we always stop in Memphis. We've stopped 3 times now in Memphis, and we have a great time. We go to barbecue. He's a little kid. He's a little kid that's not necessarily a rich kid. He hasn't experienced Paris in the springtime by 12 years old, but he's been to Memphis in the summer, and that's good enough for him. So I love Tennessee. Tennessee is such a beautiful state. Tennessee and Kentucky are both really beautiful states. A gender reveal party triggered at least 2 Tennessee schools to lock down after an expecting father shot off his gun in celebration. That's a very Tennessee kind of thing. Tennessee and Taliban sort of thing. Rumors of an active shooter at a local school are incorrect, the Murfreesboro Police Department posted on Twitter. The incident unfolded Wednesday afternoon in Rutherford County when a resident of the area heard gunshots and someone scream. The person called 911, and due to the gunshots being so close to multiple schools, officials put them on lockdown. Okay, I like that. As a kid, or as a father of a kid who's in school, I'd rather have you be extra careful, right? Who cares? The lockdown orders at Oakland High and middle schools were both quickly lifted. However, after police discovered the gunshots were from a jubilant father finding out he and the child's mother are having a boy. All right, what would it be if a girl? If we didn't want a girl, like either way you celebrate, right? I mean, I got a boy. I wanted a boy, but I would have been just as happy with a girl. And I have friends who have girls, and sometimes I wonder, would I have been better with a girl? I mean, would I have been a better parent, and would I have been able to prepare a girl better than I can a boy? And sometimes I think maybe I could, because this is a hard, harsh world, and I'm a bit of a softie. And I'm teaching my kid to love and be open-minded and kind and all that stuff. And it's really taken to him. He's a very polite, very thoughtful, very conscientious kid. But maybe I'm not toughening him up the way I should. I don't know. These are the things that I think of. The father in the incident was cited with unlawful discharging of a firearm inside the city limits. The incident comes as the trend of gender reveal parties continue sweeping the country, but they have not always ended in jubilation. In California, a couple was charged with 1 felony count of involuntary manslaughter, along with other felonies and misdemeanor counts back in July, stemming from their gender reveal party that sparked a Southern California wildfire in 2020. See, I was reading this and I was thinking, okay, this is going to be a story. And my mind is going, and it's like, okay, do I have a follow-up story? Yeah. What about those idiots in California who started the forest fire with their gender? This is it. These morons. They, I guess they let up those. I think this involved those Chinese candle baskets. Is that racist to call them Chinese candle? I don't know. Those lanterns that go up on a balloon. And apparently that was how they did their gender reveal, as I recall. And well, here it is. Why not just why not find out all the details? Because I'm not about giving you misinformation. I'm just about giving you crazy, stupid takes. Okay, never mind. It didn't take me to the story that it promised to take me to, and now I've got a ad asking me to subscribe to Sean Hannity's newsletter. I'm going to pass on that. All right, let's see. The father was cited with unlawful discharging of a firearm within city limits. The incident comes as the trend of gender reveal parties continue to sweep the country, but they've not always ended well. In California, it started a wildfire. A similar incident unfolded in Canada this year when an explosive device set off a small wildfire during a gender reveal party in northern Alberta. The couple, in that case, was fined $500 by authorities. Apparently what happened was they had mom, in the Tennessee case here, they had mom and dad on the phone, and I guess it was on speaker, and then they said, hey, it's a boy, and grandma screamed on the phone, and apparently the daughter has a siren's wail that just went, screamed really loud, and then dad started with the pistol, I'm having a boy, and neighbors heard, and apparently they're across the street from a school. So the school gets locked down and everything is crazy because these people are happy they had a boy. Well, I wish them all the well with that little boy, but the excessive gunplay might be a problem in the future. That's just my hot take. All right, let's see what else is trending. What else do we have? What am I missing? Am I missing anything good here? Let's do this. Let's just see what else people are talking about. All right, so we did the Viagra bill. We did the flooding. We talked about the Texas whistleblower. We talked about Zoloft. Here's a little something. Here's a note for all you people who enjoy television. It's a big day for me. This is what we call WWDITS Day. That's WWDITS Day. We, meaning me and a group of like-minded individuals from around the world who absolutely believe that the sitcom What We Do in the Shadows is one of the funniest damn things that has ever been on television. And guess what? Season 3 starts tonight on FX. That's why it's WWDITS Day. Now, are you familiar? Let me do a little bit. I'm very excited for this. This is another one of those shows, Ted Lasso being the other, that I will happily wait a week for the next episode. This is not one of those shows that I see when it debuts that I'll just wait for all the episodes to post and then I'll go and binge them all, although that would be great. And I will at some point do that because at this stage, I have seen the first 2 seasons of What We Do in the Shadows twice, full from beginning to end. I watched them as they aired. And then over the summer just now, I watched the first 2 episodes again. Ba-boom, 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 ba-boom. Now, if you're not familiar with What We Do in the Shadows, let me give you a quick little story about what it is. A couple of years ago, there was a New Zealand film that was made called What We Do in the Shadows. Now, well, why am I watching a New Zealand film? Well, I'll tell you why you're watching a New Zealand film, because this movie just happened to feature the works of 2 of Hollywood's brightest comedic stars of the moment. And that is, of course, Jermaine Clement, who you may know originally from his role in Flight of the Conchords. Jermaine was the tall one with the glasses. He's gone on to be a tremendously successful comedic actor. He is one of those guys, for me, that him just being on screen, not saying a word, just coming into the frame and standing there will get me to start to giggle. Bill Murray used to be like that for me, but Bill Murray's much more serious now, so he doesn't do it. Another person that did that for me was Chris Elliott. Do you remember Chris Elliott from the old David Letterman show? Chris Elliott could just move into a frame and I would prepare myself to giggle because something silly was going to happen. Something funny was going to happen. John Candy had that effect on me for a very long time. And who else? Oh, my friend, I talked about him before. For fans of Conan O'Brien, my friend Brian McCann, who I was lucky enough to work with in Chicago radio for a number of years, who went on to be a writer for Brian McCann for Conan O'Brien for 17 years. And a performer on Conan. He did everything. He did the guy with the bulletproof legs. He did S&M Abe Lincoln. He did the guy on the kayak in the audience. Just a guy on the kayak. That's a dude who could just come on screen and make me laugh. Well, Jermaine Clement is like that for me now. So this old New Zealand film from like 2015 or maybe even earlier than that, What We Do in the Shadows, featured Jermaine Clement, who we've already talked about, and another guy who is probably the hottest director in all of Hollywood, Taika Waititi. I get his name wrong. It's like a New Zealand native Islander kind of name. So Taika Jojo Rabbit, he did as director. The Thor Ragnarok, which for many people is the best of the Marvel films, he did that as well. And he also plays roles in these things. So What We Do in the Shadows, the 6 or 7 year old film at this point, the New Zealand movie, featured these 2 people. And that's why me talking about it now should have you piqued an interest, because this is a pedigree. This is what they call a pedigree. Now, What We Do in the Shadows, the movie, was about a group of vampires, modern day vampires. They're real vampires. It takes place in a universe where we suppose that vampires are real. Okay. And it's shot as a reality series, and shot in the way that The Office was shot as a reality series, where there'd be a scene and then they'd cut to to a confessional where one of the person would be sitting there talking to the camera, and he would, give his take on the scene that we just saw. Such a funny movie. It's about a bunch of vampires in New Zealand who are all roommates. They're sharing a house, and it's just about the daily life of what it's like being a vampire in the modern era. Very funny movie. If you ever get a chance to see the film, What We Do in the Shadows. I promise you, you will laugh from beginning to end. It sounds stupid. It's another one of these things. That sounds dumb, but it's actually really funny. So that movie, which was very little known, but absolutely blew people's minds, blew the people who counted's minds, has been turned into a television series on What We Do in the Shadows. Now, in the beginning, I had a problem with it because I was very, very much in love with the movie. And when I learned that the vampires in the movie were not going to be the vampires in the TV show, I was a little bit upset. But it turns out that the new cast of vampires, and now we're going into season 3, are every bit as funny as the ones in the movie. Matt Berry, who is a British comedian, who I imagine we're all going to know his name in 5 years. Right now, he's just Laszlo on What We Do in the Shadows, but Matt Berry is very, very funny. Excuse me, battling this. And it's, they've moved it from New Zealand for the TV series to now they live in Staten Island. And they have this big old creepy house like the Munster Mansion, and they live in there. And as far as vampires go, they're likable. They're nice guys. And a woman. That's right. Natasha, I think, is the female vampire. Oh, and there's another vampire that lives with them. He's not an Anne Rice vampire. He's not a blood-sucking vampire. His name is Colin, and he lives in the basement, and he's an emotional vampire. he's not. He doesn't suck your blood. He sucks your emotions and leaves you completely drained. How does he do it? By boring the hell out of you. And that's how he feeds. So he's the guy in the office that he's in a cubicle, and he's the guy that will, for 5 hours straight, sharpen pencils, just driving everybody in the office nuts. And that irritation from everybody is how he feeds, and he gets stronger. It's such a funny show. If you have a chance, I think it's on Hulu. You can actually binge, and I envy you if you have never seen the first 2 seasons of What We Do in the Shadows. You're in for a treat. You can binge them all. Season 3 starts tonight. We're all very excited. There's a whole bunch of us online and on the socials that are just we're putting out our theories on what's going to happen, because the last episode of season 2 was quite the cliffhanger. It was, if you're familiar with the show, we need to find out what's going on with Guillermo, because Guillermo just killed the entire Vampire Council, and it appears that the boys and Natasha from the What We Do in the Shadows crew, it seems like they are now in charge of the North American Vampire Council. So that'll be fun. That'll be fun. And there are vampires all over. There are this exists in a world where we don't even know who they are. Like the people that we see walking down the street who we just think are weird goth people, some of them are like really vampires. They just blended in. They're just going to concerts and clubs. That's the other thing. They like to party. They go out and they party, and they like to feed. Occasionally they like to feed on people who are on drugs, because then they get high. It's very funny. And their arch nemesis are the werewolves. There are also werewolves that are out there walking around. And the vampires and the werewolves do not like each other. And of course, the werewolves are very well behaved, and they have a mantra. Whenever one of them slips up and says a vulgarity, the mantra is, "We are werewolves, not swearwolves." So, it's silly like that. What We Do in the Shadows, that's also trending today. Very popular show. Very good show. It's certainly one of the shows now that FX is really leaning into. Like, okay, all right, so this show doesn't have absolutely massive audience at the moment, but it's got the right audience, and you can build on, kind of like this show. This show here, we don't have an absolutely massive audience at the moment, but we've got the right audience. We've got the right audience to build on. All right, so I'm gonna now just delve in here. We're 1 hour in, and this is really sad. Oh my God. Okay, So I talked a little bit earlier about, mental illness and, dealing with depression and working through it and all that stuff. And we talked about how Zoloft is trending. And I just pulled up to see what's happening here on the Twitters. And this was a story that was very upsetting to me last night. Trending now in America on Twitter is R.I.P. Daphne. Now, I didn't know who Daphne was. I've never heard of her before. But she was trending number one last night as we signed off here at midnight. This is about Daphne Unger, who many of you who are wrestling fans might know. She was a female wrestler and a beautiful young lady. A lot of fans. I mean, a lot of fans. She was trending number one late last night. And what ended up happening here is last night, Daphne Unger of wrestling fame, TNA, WCW, her whole thing was kind of I read up on her because after seeing what was trending last night, I decided I should know who this person is. So I went on Wikipedia and I read all about her, and her character was based on, she created her character for wrestling based on Harley Quinn and Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. So she kind of just mashed up those two things, and she was kind of this goth wrestler girl who was supposed to be completely deranged and all of that. Well, last night she went on her Instagram live and she scared the crap out of a whole bunch of people because it was hard to watch. Video is out there if that's your kind of thing. I have no interest in finding it and sharing it with us, but it was, to my familiarity, it was somebody who was completely controlled, dominated, being drowned by depression. And she was crying on this Instagram live feed last night. She was basically telling everybody that she was going to kill herself, that she was going to end it. Nobody loved her. She wasn't worth it. It was heart-wrenching. And I have to tell you, I watched her Instagram live video last night. I don't know, probably 10 times, just looking for little things that I missed, and all night last night, it was every big pro wrestler in the world, every blue check pro wrestler was tweeting last night in the late night hours, screaming for someone to get over to Daphne, to get to her place. And then the wrestling organizations were all chiming in with their official blue check sites saying, we only have an old address for her. Please contact us if anyone knows the current whereabouts of Daphne Unger. She, at one point, appeared to have a pistol in her hand as she sat on the edge of her bed, speaking into her Instagram, talking about how her life had no meaning and that nobody loved her and that she loved everybody and she just needed somebody and she felt so alone. And I'm getting upset because it was so powerful. It was really powerful. So I went to sleep last night, keeping a good thought for this person that I'd never heard of, Daphne Unger. And hoping that someone would get to her, hoping that, a lot of these things are false alarms. A lot of people. But the truth is that people who really suffer from these kinds of mental problems, they don't issue false alarms. They don't. When they decide to go public with this is it, I'm saying, but this isn't a snap judgment for these people. Like I said, I told you, I used to walk my dog in my darkest days, and I used to just repeat to myself, I'm not going to kill myself. I'm not going to kill myself. And I can't. That's not, again, I need to make this as perfectly clear to everybody that I am effectively managing, and I'm actually pretty good at it by this point. And as I say, I don't believe I have as severe a situation as a lot of people. And I have a son, and I've spoken to my 12-year-old son about what I call the curse, because sometimes it's genetic. Sometimes, that's just something that you inherit. It's a brain chemistry thing. So I've tried to make my son understanding about these things, these mental illnesses, and how, people in his life might say, "You're crazy, just walk it off." And that's not the way to deal with it. That he always has someone to talk to, and because of him, and certainly because of my mom, I mean, there's no way I'm checking out. I mean, I will live in a cardboard box under a damn viaduct before I mean, that's just not going to happen. It is certainly, I am not going to leave my 12-year-old son. Certainly, you don't want to put that kind of stuff on a kid between the formative years, right? So no, so there is absolutely no fear. And even if that wasn't the case, it's not a fear because I'm completely fine. But Daphne Unger went on her Instagram Live and she made some threats last night. And as we went to bed last night, I kept a good thought, hoping that maybe one of these people who love her and care about her would get to her and show her that she's not alone. And that didn't happen. Shimmer Wrestling, hashtag Rip Daphne, is trending #1 right now on Twitter. Shimmer Wrestling, we are very sad to have to announce the passing of Shannon Sproil, a.k.a. Daphne Unger, at Scream Queen Daff. We are posting this at the request of her family. Please respect their privacy at this time. I will miss you, my logical sister from another mister. And that is signed Lexi Fife. And now, of course, we've got all of the mental health is no joke. Rip Daphne. I remember you are never alone. So here is the important numbers that you need in these situations. And then there's all of these hotline numbers. Mental health is not a joke and should never be a joke. Here, you know what? Maybe I can show you her if you don't know who she is. Here, we'll do a number of pictures. Oh, there she is. There she is with one of the most wonderful people in the entire wrestling world. Here, let me just do this. Let me just put that out there. Picture of her and Mick Foley, who, Mick Foley, what was he? Mankind. And I don't know. He did a whole bunch of different, one of the most iconic dudes in the history of pro wrestling, Mick Foley. And as I say, one of the nicest men. On the old show, Kelly and I, we had numerous opportunities to talk with Mick Foley. And for a guy who presented himself as such a crazy out there kind of dude, he was a maniac. That was his whole bit. What a nice man. What an intelligent man. What a guy who absolutely is. I'm not saying that he's, we're talking about Daphne Unger here. All right. So which one do I want to do? Here we go. All right. We'll just give you a look at her just so that we can, just in case you're unfamiliar. As I say, I was totally unfamiliar. There she is. You can see she's doing kind of the Scream Queen thing. She was 46 years old. This is her much younger. There you go. There's Mick right there. I don't know if you can see that. No, you can't. Here, we'll make it a little bit bigger. It's this one just kind of hit me a little bit. I gotta say, right there. There's Mick. What a guy. There's Daphne. There she is. There she is. There she is. Yeah. So okay. So that was I just popped up the. It's funny. I woke up and I was totally preoccupied with all of the phlegm and all of the and stuff. And then I jumped in and started watching all of this coverage of the East Coast. And until I just refreshed the Twitter to see what was trending, I honestly had forgotten about this. I had forgotten that this was something that, I wanted to follow up on today. So there you have it. Okay. So that's not a good one. That is rest in peace. She just seemed so, and people were sharing the Instagram and they weren't sharing her Instagram live feed where she was talking about killing herself. And we have to assume that she did. People were sharing that and they weren't sharing it like get help. People were sharing it with like, what the F? And holy cow, look at this. This is crazy. What kind of a soulless individual does that? I mean, that's exploitation. You are trying to get clicks on your feed by sharing a video of somebody who is obviously not needing that kind of attention right now. But I watched it So I watched one that somebody shared, and it was really heavy. Okay, so there we go. God bless you, young lady. And remember, this is not. It's funny because we all say after the fact, boy, oh boy. I wanted to end the show here at 1:00 because of my voice, but this is kind of a subject that's near and dear to me. Deviating now from the plan of after these things happen, people always come out of the woodwork and they say, well, if I had known, pay attention. Pay attention. People who go through these things, they leave clues everywhere. It's nice that you express regret at not being able to do more, but it's nicer to actually do something more. It's not crazy to say to a friend who is going through something, whether they're going through a breakup. I mean, if you're a youngster, maybe it's just a breakup. If a divorce, a loss of career, a loss of friends, anything like that. If anyone in your life is going through that stuff, it's not gay, it's not weak, it's not pansy, it's not. And by the way, I was using gay I didn't mean to make it pejorative, but you know what I mean. The way kids on a playground would yell it incorrectly. You can ask people, hey, come here for a second. How you doing? We doing okay? You want to talk about something? Man, a good way to do it, because they're not going to go, oh yeah, let's sit down and talk. They're not gonna, because these are people who feel so gross about these feelings. They already deep down, regardless, Robin Williams had millions and millions of people who loved him. Regardless of that fact, they feel that they're hiding something. They feel that if they really talked about how they were feeling, that they would lose everybody that they now have as phony friends, because that's what they see it as. The phony friends. I'm putting on an act. You love the person that's putting on the act. You don't actually know, and you sure as shit don't want to hear the real problems that are going on. So it is nice that in the moments following one of these situations, you may feel regret and you may offer public statements of, I wish I'd have known, I could have done more. I mean, I'm lucky. I'm lucky that I have a core group of friends who we look out for each other. We're not afraid to say those kinds of things to each other. How you doing? You doing okay? Let's talk about this, because boy, oh boy, I got stuff going on inside of me, and share with people. I don't want to share with some dude that I drink with. Well, then don't tweet afterwards, I wish there was something I could have done. I wish there was something, because that's obviously what was going on with Daphne Hunger here. Okay, that's it. Soapbox done. Just a good rule of thumb for going through life in this insanely awful period that we're living through is just make an effort to care about people. There's nothing weak about caring about people. There's nothing weak about trying to talk someone off a ledge. I'll tell you what's weak. What's weak is when you know there was something going on with your friend, and then afterwards you say, I wish you'd have said something. They do. In not so many words, but they do. Okay, let's move on now. Let's try and pick ourselves up here. Let me jump in the chat room. Let me see what's happening. Well, I probably have scared everybody away in the chat room. Let's see. We're going all the way down. Let's see what says. Stevie Ray says, I didn't know she died until you just said it. Yeah, she was. It was a big thing last night, late at night, when everybody was trying to get to her. And it's just popping now. I guess it's just being released now that she is gone. So don't look up to the video. It's very uncomfortable. Yeah, Peter, that's it. Yeah, that's all it takes. Amen for my friends. That's it. Just care about your friends. That's all we need to do. All right, let's run through these because honestly, guys, I think I've only got about another 10 minutes left of this voice. Here's some good news. This is fun. Abba. Abba is trending. Remember Abba? Dancing Queen. Abba, for like 9 months in 1979, were the Beatles. They were I don't even know if it was 79. May have been earlier. But Abba is trending today. Why, you might ask? Why is I thought a bunch of them were past. I don't know. Abba have reunited for the first time in 40 years, announcing the new album Voyage and a digital concert. Yeah, right. Digital concert. Whatever. Let's see here. Zoloft is still trending. Texas abortion law is still trending. Roland Emmerich is trending. The director, Roland Emmerich, apparently he's got a new movie. Says here's the tagline for the new Roland Emmerich movie that's been released, or at least the trailer has, and everybody's going all gaga about it. In 1969, we went to the moon. That was birthday, the day I was born. Here's to me. In 1969, we went to the moon. In 2022, the moon will come to us. Ooh. I guess it sounds like the moon crashes into the earth, which, people believe that already happened. That might be why we have, what did it used to be called when all of the continents were connected? You ever seen that like a billion years ago? All the continents were connected and people could like walk around, and then something happened, and then suddenly if you ever look at a map, I've seen this done. There's like YouTube videos. I don't look. Oh, here goes Pugs with his scientific theories based on YouTube knowledges. Look, I know that I'm probably not the best person for this, but there's a YouTube stuff, and maybe I saw it on Discovery, but they actually show the world. Pangea, that's it. Thank you, Jeff Clan. The world used to be known as Pangea when all the continents were connected. And then they show like how if you were to take Pangea, the way they believe Pangea was, and break it up, like all of the continents, and then they put it back together, all the continents like kind of fit together. Like if you looked at a globe like a puzzle and just moved like Africa over to the Middle East, and you connected China, and then you connected up at the top North America and all that, it's like a puzzle. Like all of the places like totally fit together. So yeah, the idea of Pangea seems like wow, we were all one thing. So what happened? Well, a lot of people think that the moon was just like some giant space asteroid thing, and it crashed into the earth, causing the breakup of all the continents, and then a big giant chunk of that thing is the moon, and it got trapped in our orbit, and that's why we have a moon. And they believe that's the case with a lot of other moons that orbit other planets. So that's kind of cool. So it looks like Roland Emmerich's got a new movie. It's coming out. What's it called? Moonfall. Ooh. All right. Keanu Reeves is trending. I think I mentioned that last night. It's his birthday. Happy birthday, Keanu Reeves. He's 72. Thursday Vibes is trending. ACLU is trending. This is all no fun stuff. Philly is underwater. Philly is trending. Ohio State is trending. Justin Herbert, or do you say Aber? I don't know what's going on with Justin Herbert. I don't know if he's hurt. Robot Chicken. No. Okay, so none of this stuff is really good. Let's move over to another trend thing. We'll try and run through these. Refresh. Bum. Oh boy, we've got Daphne. Daphne is trending number 1 on this one as well. We've already talked about her. World Championship Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, WWE. Daphne Unger passes away at 46 years old. Let's see here. World Cup qualifiers. We don't care about that. CM Punk is trending. CM Punk. I didn't know this. I'm not a wrestling guy, but I became familiar with CM Punk. He was a big time popular wrestler. I only became familiar with him when he decided to quit wrestling and go into MMA. And I was like, oh great, here we go. Another wrestler trying to win in MMA, blah, blah, blah. And then I heard him, speak and interviewed, and then I started seeing him everywhere. And what a fan of CM Punk I am. And then I get a little bit more into it, and I'm like, well, let's learn about this guy. Turns out the CM stands for Chicago Made. Turns out he's a Chicago boy from the South Side, no less. And I'm like, how do I not know this? Why is this just coming onto me now? Look a little further. He lives in Orland Park. That's my hometown. CM Punk. I know exactly where he lives. He lives over in a neighborhood called Silo Ridge. He lives over in Orland Park. And I'm like, that is very cool. Come to find out now, he also attended Lockport High School, which wasn't my high school, but it was the next town over. It was a high school there. All of my friends went to Lockport. Some of the people who are hanging out in the chat room at night and during the day went to Lockport. I had no idea about CM Punk. So apparently CM Punk is what? He's back doing wrestling now? Good for him, because I love that guy. That guy is so he's smart, he's articulate, he's funny, he's a showman, he's a good dude. And I don't know if he's a heel, I don't know if he's a face, I don't know, maybe he's been both in his career, because he certainly is one of the most iconic wrestlers of the past 20 years, which I didn't know. I only learned that after, delving in. But what a cool guy CM Punk is. So he's trending. Yellowstone is trending here. Number 9, Yellowstone. I have been, when we did our What Are You Watching segment on the nighttime show a couple of weeks back, I asked for people to suggest shows for me to check out, shows that I haven't seen. And the two most common ones were Yellowstone, Kevin Costner's TV series, which I think is now like in the 4th or 5th season. I'm not entirely sure. Yellowstone came up a whole bunch of times. And then another show called Dave. Dave, Lil Dicky, apparently, I started watching Dave. Oh my God, is that show funny? If you've ever seen Dave is a white guy who is trying to become a hip hop star, and he's very interesting and he's very funny, and he's not at all. He doesn't at all present himself the way you would expect a hip hop guy to present himself. He's actually nerdy and he's soft spoken and he's awkward. But he turns on that mic and he becomes Little Dicky, and he's very entertaining. He's very good. So I did pick up on Dave. I'm about 5 episodes in. What really sold it for me is my 12-year-old kid loves Dave. He loves that. She's like, "Oh, Dad, where you been? That show is great." And I'm like, it really is great. That show is wonderful. So I got up on Dave, and I was like, Yellowstone. I'm reading the descriptions. I'm not a big fan of the Old West stuff. I don't like Westerns. I can't relate at all to people who live on America's largest cattle ranch, which is what the story is about. Strikes me a little bit soap opera-y, blah, blah, blah. But then I'm driving around and I'm listening to, one of my favorite radio shows, The Hardline on the Ticket, and they're all watching Yellowstone. And those people aren't dummies. I respect those people's opinions. And they're all talking about, oh, yeah, Yellowstone. I like that. Bob Sturm, one of the guys in this town who I respect more than any other broadcaster. Bob Sturm is talking about how he's into Yellowstone now. He ain't a dummy. He's actually a really interesting and smart guy, a well-read guy, a well-rounded guy. He's from Wisconsin and a Packer fan, so that's a bit of a problem. But, man, so I got to jump on Yellowstone. And I guess season 4 is about to start here, Yellowstone on the Paramount Network. I believe you can... there's one of the platforms where you can see them all. I think I'm going to jump into Yellowstone. I think that tonight, after the 10 o'clock show, what I watch is probably going to be Yellowstone. Oh, I just finished the new season of Godfather of Harlem. I don't know if you guys know about Godfather of Harlem. It's a Forrest Whitaker show where he plays Bumpy Johnson, the drug kingpin of Harlem back in the 1960s. He was featured in the movie American Gangster. Denzel Washington, Frank Lucas story, American Gangster. What a great movie that was. Well, Frank Lucas was the guy that succeeded Bumpy Johnson running Harlem. And there are interactions in Gangster of Harlem between Frank Lewis and Bumpy Johnson. I guess Bumpy was like a bit of a mentor to Frank. Haven't seen the character of Frank Lucas introduced into the first 2 seasons of Godfather of Harlem, but man, if you get a chance to see Godfather of Harlem, it's a great gangster show. And if you're a fan of The Sopranos, you're a fan of Peaky Blinders, you're a fan of stuff like that, this is a really good one. And it's all historical people. Like Bumpy is constantly going up against the 5 families. Vincent D'Onofrio is the co-star. He plays the Chin Gigante, who was in charge of the Gambino family. You might remember Chin Gigante as the mobster, the elderly mobster in the 80s and 90s, who would walk around New York City in a bathrobe, muttering to himself. He's the guy that pretended to be crazy. He's the mobster who, in order to stay out of prison, decided that he was going to, I'm sorry, allergies. He's the guy that decided he was going to stay out of prison by by publicly being a drooling, insane person who just wandered aimlessly around because the FBI was following him everywhere. So he put on a little show for him. Vincent D'Onofrio plays him in his younger years, and we already see him starting to pretend that he's crazy. Like every time he gets arrested, he starts babbling and stuff, and then he winks at his wife. It's a really good show. Godfather of Harlem. I just finished season 2. How cool was season 2? So good. All right, and then there's a whole bunch of college football stuff, and we'll do one more pass through on Twitter, see if anything new is happening. Because, like I say, the minute I sign off, there's going to be a whole bunch of things that are going to start trending here, and that is absolutely my voice telling me that it's time for me to shut this down. If there is nothing good. Oh, PitMad is trending. PitMad is trending number 1 on Twitter. PitMad is cool. PitMad is a thing where it stands for Pitch Madness. And it's where writers, hashtag PitMad, if you have an idea for a book, if you have a concept for a story, if you have something like that, you just try in 280 characters or less, pitch whatever your story is or whatever your book is, your book idea. And all of the publishers and the writing agents and all of that, they hook on to hashtag PitMad, and then they read all of these pitches. And it's a way that people have gotten discovered, and it's the way people have gotten book deals. So PitMad is trending number 1. If you like stories, boy, it's the day to click on PitMad. Click on PitMad and listen to some of the pitches. Here, I'll give you an example. I'll click on PitMad and I'll just show you what's the first one that comes up. Okay, so here are the top ones. Some of them are really funny. Some of them are legitimate. Like you go, wow, that's an actual story. All right, so here's the first one that comes up from hashtag PitMad. This is someone pitching a story that they want to tell in book form to publishers and agents. It says, The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse. 3 friends, an ox, a rabbit, and a boy, become unexpected parents to a baby bird and struggle over whether to keep it safely caged or set it free. Meanwhile, Mother Nature has other plans. Hashtag PitMad. That one doesn't kill me. I don't love that one. Let's try this one. Let's see what this one. With $25K on the line, Kat and Laddiz thought the Horror Park Challenge would be fun. But as contestants disappear, the monsters on the rides become real. They must confess their darkest secrets to survive, but some secrets are worth dying for. Hashtag PitMad. We'll do one more. Okay, here's one. When Julie Amherst and her friends stumble upon an injured girl in the woods, they discover that she isn't human. The discovery that she isn't human turns their weekend upside down. Who is she, and what connection does she have to Julie? A tale of sorrow, growing up, and the mystery of the afterlife. So that's what hashtag PitMad is. It's great. I'm probably going to spend the better part of the afternoon just reading all of these ideas for stories and playing agent. That one, I'll take you, baby. You're gonna be a star. I mean, that's basically, and people are getting discovered this way. All right, so that's pretty much it, folks. I'm gonna cut it short about a half hour. I had intended to only do an hour, but here we go now, and the voice is completely shutting down. Thank you so much for joining me on today's edition of Noon. What do we call it? We call it High Noon. Don't forget to join me again tonight over 10 o'clock, same time, same place. That's where we do a little bit more of a... Did you hear that? That was a little bit of... 10 o'clock tonight is where we're going to do the the lighter side of this show that we like to do. We call it the Pillow Talk edition. Not so much topic driven, more just, talking and sharing, and we have people on, and we're going to have more people on, and I'm going to start having a co-host. We just need to figure out how to do that. This me doing this every day by myself, this has been fun, and it's been a tremendous exercise, but I'm not at my best doing this. I'm very uncomfortable having no one to talk to. And, as was pointed out to me by somebody a couple of days ago, nobody does this where they're just talking to themselves for 2 hours, and nobody does it because it's really difficult. And, even you do, well, Rush Limbaugh did it. a little bit different. You breaks and commercials. And even when you listen to sports guys who do it by themselves, they interact with callers, they interact with a producer. There's always somebody there that gives them some kind of feedback about what it is that they're saying and whether it's working, whether it's not working. This is a difficult thing. And it's exhausting, and we are happy to do it. We are dedicated to doing it. It is killing us. We are in the stages here before we can try and monetize this, where we're just getting the business model in place. And we appreciate you being here for these early stages of what we hope to be a much better offering. Today, again, feeling a little bit sick. And since we don't have any advertisers, we're not taking any money from you folks. We don't feel like we necessarily need to push it to the limit today, especially when I'm feeling this way. And also, if this was a situation where I probably had to get into my car and drive to a radio studio, I might not have come in today. But since I basically live on the other side of that wall, all I had to do was like put on a collared shirt and a sweater and come on in here and do it. So thank you so much for joining us for the high noon edition of Pugs Moran Live. We are going to be back. Promise. And I'm going to shut up, and I'm going to have nothing but hot tea and hot water, and I'm not going to blow out my voice. And maybe I'll have someone on with me tonight who can do a little bit of the heavy lifting, because this is not working. Be good to each other. Love your neighbor. Think about being a little bit more thoughtful in your everyday life. And we'll meet back here at 10 o'clock on Pugs Moran Live on Radio Misfits Network.